Team Queso finds themselves on the blue. Nova will find themselves on the red. First phase of bans already has begun. Team E quickly taken away by Queso.
Team Queso believe they ban out the Team E because it's one of Coco's favorite, or one of Grizzly Q's favorite characters. And every time we see Nova Esports run this composition with the Team E, they power farm their jungle very effectively. And one of the things we said going in was they have to make sure Nova does not get Vex extra farmed.
There's also an interesting aspect into this is there's more time. When we think about the draft phase before this weekend, weeks 1 through 4, teams had 15-20 seconds to be able to choose both their picks and their bans. Now, they've got 30 seconds on the first phase, 60 seconds on the second phase, which gives you much more time for conversation and strategizing.
Still on the cards, Elsu, Sephra, Varus, Annette, all typically characters that would have been banned in the old meta. Nova can't get all of them.
Well, as I was looking through the stats yesterday, I noticed that one of the characters in the European region who is 100% picked and banned in all of the games has been Elsu. So I would expect Elsu to make an appearance here in this game, if not in this ban, then in the pick phase.
We saw Ruiz pick up Elsu once or twice already this season.
Another character with a very high pick ban rate in the EU, though, is Lindis. And I'd be keeping an eye on where the Lindis goes, because we've actually seen Lindis be very, very powerful into Nova in the past, because Vex typically plays these slower farm characters, and Lindis's farm speed is really incredible.
But now, now with the Varus being picked up, or the Varus being banned away, Elsu is available, so your prediction comes right on that end Envision. But this leaves lots of options. You've got the Lindis, you've got the Sephra, you've got the Talanis that we've seen pop up in many instances. There are plenty of options for them. Sephra seems to be the hover for Nova.
I don't know if Nova know where Lilu is playing, but I would certainly be considering taking a Murad or something away from him, just so that you know you're getting it, as opposed to Lilu, who was so good on the character last season.
I would imagine Annette being the second lock-in for Nova here. Annette is a phenomenal support nowadays, and that could potentially open the gates for a double support composition if they so as well want to utilize that one. I mean, Annette does provide a lot of CC and a lot of good chance for Sephra to land those stuns, but
instead,
could be wrong.
Ooh, yeah. They swap over. Ryoma immediately gets picked up now, so a strong piece of early game coming out for Nova.
Ryoma's a popular first pick hover for Nova because they absolutely love getting to flex. So the Ryoma can be played in the sideline, Coco can pick him up, but also they can put it in the jungle and Vexes look terrifying on the character. So just because they've drafted it doesn't mean Team Queso know where it's playing.
Annette, though, is picked up immediately by Team Queso, so their support position is already been locked in, which now Envision gives them an opportunity to round out the first pick phase with a potential with another potential player here.
I think they're going to go for a mid lane here. It makes a lot of sense before the second draft phase to pick up yourself a mid. Somebody like Tulin, who's incredibly mobile, looking at their team composition, would make a lot of sense. But I am wrong once again. Roxy is going to be the pick on the side of Team Queso.
This is not only an acquisition pick for Team Queso, but it's a denial pick away from Nova Esports.
The Roxy is very, very good in that top lane because there are, I don't think, in my personal opinion, is any character that is better at clearing wave. Her wildfire is extremely efficient, and she can also, once she starts contributing to teamfights, be very, very powerful at denying AoE pushes. The Sephra, who wants to be in the middle of the team, is very vulnerable to the long-standing wildfire, which can burn the whole team at the same time.
Well, looking at the stats, Team Queso, they have 100% win ratio in the Valor series with Roxy, so stats speak in their favor right now.
Well, Nova Esports also is going with a very capable hero, specifically Liliana, into the hands of Poseidon. So it goes into the theory that you were saying a little bit earlier, Envision, of getting that mid laner early to make sure that you don't get it reduced in the second phase, as we now have begun that second ban phase, Nova with the first ban.
Yeah, Nova more than likely is going to be looking for a Tulin ban here, because Tulin is one of the characters that can stand toe-to-toe with Liliana in terms of burst, in terms of mobility. He is a phenomenal character to have in your pool, and I'd be incredibly surprised if Nova don't deny that off of Queso.
I'd like to take a moment to talk about kind of the late and early game activation that's coming through here, because Team Queso actually have the longest average game time in the EU Valor series at 16 minutes. So they're going to be generally playing towards that later game time frame, and they do that oftentimes off of the back of their jungle, who has been these late scaling characters like the Slims that take a while to get farmed up. They've got an Elsu already this game, who is kind of fills that role. That Elsu takes a while to get powered up, and Nova Esports in the past have looked really, really good late game, and only maybe a little bit weak in the early games when they're pressured early.
Well, Nova Esports, like you mentioned, Envision, ban away the Tulin. Team Queso rebuttals, though, with the Omen as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see another mid lane denial here from Nova Esports, but something to consider as well. If it is going to be another mid, there are opportunities for Team Queso because their mid lane player is certainly accomplished and has the hero pool to go deep if he needs to.
That is definitely true, but at the same time, Team Queso, the only other mid lane they've played that is currently in the pool still is going to be that Gothli. So if Nova have looked at those stats, they know what's going to be coming their way.
That's a target. Kriknak straight into the hands of Lilu. We still aren't necessarily sure if Lilu is going to end up going to the jungle. If he does, that will mean that he's not going to get to play one of his staple point Kriknaks, as now Team Queso is going to decide to flip around. Remember, Lindis is still available. You saw it on the hover. Valheim seems to be the immediate lock-in now. That's a denial away from Nova Esports, as now Nova gets an opportunity for the first pick on the second phase.
Nova need to, at this point, start looking towards what they're pulling out in their support role for Grizzly Q, I think. If it is this Sephira, which it is entirely possible, then we are living in a world where their side lane gets messy.
Yeah, it can definitely be true.
Grizzly Q, the reason I even raised the question, Nova have run side lane Sephira before. We have seen that in the past, so whether or not they drafted a support would have been a big indicator. Instead, we get the Zenial, which basically guarantees this will be support Sephira, side lane Zenial up top, giving them that beginning of the immortal comp, as D2 like to call it, a double burst heal for these close-range team fights that Team Queso seem to be playing into.
And it's another team fight pick, and Nova Esports now is not afraid to go toe-to-toe with the team fight potential of Team Queso. Now, Queso has to figure out what mid lane they're going to go with. Alistar, though, seems to be the hover.
Yeah, it does look to be. They're shuffling around. Flash would make a lot of sense here as well, but Alistar is going to be a good one to stop the Liliana from dashing around in these team fights. L'Oreal is one of the good heroes I've seen Ruse play many times before, and that'd be an interesting one indeed. But as I was saying before, Team Queso, they've only played Gothli as the other mage in the Valor series currently that is still in the pool, so I can see them going for that.
Kali does fit in with a more poke-style composition in combination with the Elsu. They've also got the aggressive jungler in the Zephys, potentially going to be put into Lilu as well. We can already see him hovering the punish ability, which means there's an opportunity for him to go in that direction. Of course, Ibuchichi hovering it as well, still having to figure out which one of these directions that they'll put that Zephys. Final pick for Nova.
So if this is going to be a support pick, we could see Zephyra side lane.
Still possible, yes. It could also be, the thing I'm watching right now is where this Ryoma is.
It could be Vex or side lane.
I had assumed that this Ryoma was their second side lane, and therefore this had to be a jungle. But if this Ryoma is the jungle, which is entirely possible, then things get messy otherwise. But no,
there's the
it'll
Violet.
be Vex in the jungle, on the Violet, and that means that we have a very good idea of where Nova are running things. Team Queso still having that question mark up in the air, but it looks like Lilu's running the Elsu, which presumably puts him in the side lane. Zephyrs on Ibuchichi means he'll be in the jungle.
What does this mean now for Nova Esports versus Team Queso? There are opportunities for Queso, specifically with Ibuchichi in the Zephys jungle, being able to invade early onto Violet before she decides to get up and going. But the difficulty that we have seen, and it's something that Ibuchichi, we have criticized him for in the past, is he tries to sometimes play this sort of Vex style and get himself farmed up. Zephys is not one that he wants to do that for. He needs to be aggressive.
Thing with Team Queso's lineup right now is that they have an incredible early game. They can utilize level 1 fight perfectly here up against Nova roster, because Nova, although they have good level 1, they don't have anything exceptional. You'll look at Roxy, who has that fire or the burn coming through for him, and we have a net who can cuff people. There's a lot of disruption that's coming out of Team Queso, and if they're gonna go for the invade, they can have even the snipe coming through at the later stage of that level 1 fight that can still pick up people that are going away with low HP.
I really do feel that neither team is especially strong in the early game, though. And I think that Team Queso maybe have the bigger problem because their mid-game isn't going to be especially strong either. They're playing to late. They do have the higher average game time in the Valor series, which means that If the game does go late, if we do get past that 15-minute mark, the odds are likely for me seeing Queso come out on top. The problem is they actually, in those longer games, have a lower average kill count and a far lower average tower count, which means they're less efficient with the time. They spend a lot of time playing defense.
And that's going to be important. They have the sieging opportunities, but it's going to be having patience as well as the knowledge of when to actually hit the go button. Team Queso and Nova had a long, drawn-out draft with two strategies, certainly hoping to fit their favor. EU match number 1, game 1 starts now.
Indeed it is, and we're gonna head straight into a battle of defensive postures here. Team Queso as well as Nova Esports, they're both gonna stand back and take a little bit of a slower start. Nova are a little bit afraid of the shaky yesterday. Team Queso, they don't want to be trifling and giving anything to Nova here in the early game, because we know if Nova gets the early game, there's a good chance they're gonna run away with it.
But by contrast, the only times that Nova Esports have looked especially weak has been when they're threatened in the early game. So I'd actually like to see Team Queso take a little bit of a gamble here with any other team composition. Because looking at their team comp, I don't actually see them having a whole bunch of good early to mid team fight potential. Particularly this Elsu is going to take a solid while to get farmed up.
That could be the case, but do you think that there's any way that they can get that Elsu online quicker? Is there a way for the side of Queso to power farm that Elsu?
Yeah, we've seen it a couple times. We have the Elsu. Obviously, there's that extra gold down in the Dragon lane. You can just stick the Elsu there the whole time. But if you look at the teams that really want to get the key carries power farmed, they start bringing them up to other lanes, giving them a bit of jungle farm, rotating them between mid and bot. That helps a lot.
Well, Abyssal sticking around right now to the bottom side of the map. They want to help Alilo get the farm that he needs in order to be effective as that Elsu.
Yeah, Lilu is, I think, the key to the CQ composition right now. Nova Esports, if they just hold on in that bot lane, everything's going great.
Grizzly Q and a little bit of a misstep there. Had to burn the flicker to get away from that situation.
Oh, and the snipes are beginning to land from Lilu. They did a great job giving them both lane clears down bottom. Infinite wave, and they're going, at least threatening this Abyssal right now.
Well, Nova need to find this one out if they want to have anything to say about this one being done.
Yeah, Grizzly Q does have vision, but Ibuchi is able to pick it up completely uncontested.
Well, it is a kind of a replay of yesterday with that Abyssal going down this early. Nova, they don't seem to be protecting the first Abyssal.
No, Nova Esports rarely do though. If you look at the stats, they don't actually get a whole bunch of Abyssal Dragons because it's not very key to their strategy. They're more focused on farming up their carries in the jungle, and the early Abyssal isn't that effective. It gives you gold, but you can out-farm what the Abyssal Dragon gets you if you're invading into the enemy jungle or even just farming your own lanes efficiently.
Well, if you're not taking or contesting that Abyssal Dragon, that does mean you're giving free gold to the opposing team as well. So if they rotate less members in there, they will have the gold advantage. So even if you go there to stall time, I think that's a viable strategy.
I've just checked the stats, and on average, Nova Esports get just one Abyssal Dragon a game, and I would go so far as to wager that Abyssal Dragon is almost always the Enraged Abyssal, because the extra 1,000 gold that the early game Abyssal gives you, while it is impactful, particularly in the early game, a team like Nova, who already kind of put their emphasis towards late, just don't care that much about it.
Yeah, that could be the case here as Poseidon finds himself in a sticky situation up against Ibuchi.
To explain a little bit more why that works, it's because they have pretty rough early game team fight comps. You don't really want to take a team composition like this. Oh, Ibuchi
has gone down to half HP. Terzikov's coming through. Nova is in a little bit of a pickle here as Lilu is going to be firing to snipe off, does not connect onto any member of Nova.
I'm going to say case in point, you don't want to take a team comp like the one Nova have built here into early game team fights. You need those level 4 ults, and beyond that, you want them to be a little bit farmed up. Because they've focused on getting that farm, they don't want to take a risk, go for an Abyssal, and potentially lose a team fight. That means they'll never recover farm.
Yeah, meanwhile, bottom lane, we do have a little bit of action going on. There's the flicker forward from Oxy. He needs to step out. No, the Goths are there, and Senil pops his ultimate as well. But finally, Team Queso, they're going to be running away, but not before losing one of their members. Ibuchi has gone down. Now, Team Queso on the retreat path. There's the Tides of Life being popped as well. The Spirits for good measure. Poseidon, he's bitten off more than he can chew there, as he's going to get away. The snipe connects, but onto the wrong person. What a try that was.
Coco, brilliant work body blocking there. Saves his ally's life. It does mean Nova, though, feel confident enough with their map knowledge to go in on this Abyssal Dragon.
There's that one Abyssal Dragon per game.
Yeah, they may be beating that statistic here because they don't normally get those early Abyssals. In a situation like that, though, they were just flat out given it. Team Queso took so much damage during that fight because they were a little bit overextended that there was no way they were going to push far enough forward to contest.
Well, for now, Team Queso has held on pretty well. If we spoke about it in the pregame, I want to highlight the fact that Team Queso, they scale a little bit better into the late game right now than what Nova has in their roster. Of course, they have Coco on that Zenyo as well, who can protect the carries.
Yeah, I think this is a mid versus late game situation. Both these teams do all right in late game. Team Queso, I think, has a slight edge. Nova Esports will do better in the mid game because the Elsu won't be quite as powerful as it can get. And that'll be at the peak of the Liliana's power, coupled with the peak of the Ryoma's power, coupled with the peak of the Violet's power.
Oxydon, he's going to be low HP down at the bottom side of the map. Has to go away and get back to safety of the base to heal up in order to take the farm that's upcoming in the next waves.
And in order to get Vex farm, they brought him into mid, putting Grizzly Q kind of roaming around the map, Poseidon down to bottom. The reason they're seeding that mid control is because they feel that letting Vex out of the jungle to get that extra wave clear is more efficient than sharing or splitting the gold between Oxy and Poseidon. They're okay taking a hit in terms of damage that those can get in order to get that Violet just turbo fang.
Well, indeed, that is going to be the case, but Team Queso have been pretty successful right now.
But Vex is turbo fed. The strategy is working. Yep. He's getting all these lane clears, and he's been in the jungle. Although
the snipes are coming through, but Ruiz does not get the kill.
And he's got 4.5k gold currently on Vex. That is absurd. Nobody else is close. Top lane, Yavex, who's been pretty aggressively stealing jungle and cutting waves, is at about 4k, but he will not do nearly as much with that 4,000 gold as Vex, who's already got his Mr. Savvy, presumably full stacks. He's already got his Clav Sancti. He's going to be looking for maybe one more item before he starts really contributing to these team fights.
The gank down at the bottom was successful, coming through from Noah. There's the jump in coming through from Coco as well. The Angelic Splendor did not save the teammate. That was Oxy, who went down, and that's the pinnacle player we pointed out pre-game that needs to step up for that team right now. He is 1-1-1, so he's somewhat stepping up for their side.
Yeah, but Oxy, I think, is not a carry role this game. Contrary to what we saw in those previous games, they are not relying on Oxy. They put all of the onus on Vex.
Yeah, that could spell trouble for them if Team Queso take Vex down. We've seen it once yesterday already, was Coco does get grasped up by Agnes' grasp of Yavex, but Yavex, he's not going to stick around for the fight.
And Team Queso want to be able to get a second Abyssal Dragon of the game. They've got a lot of players hovering around it, but Nova, no.
Yep, they are going to try to steal it, but Ibichichi is going to be on the quick finger of that punish coming through, and he's going to be able to secure themselves the Abyssal Dragon.
Fun fact, we were talking about how Team Queso tended to drift more towards the late game in their team comps. They actually have a lower average Abyssal Dragon pickup than Nova. They normally only get 0.07 Abyssal Dragons a game.
So they go to the Abyssal Dragon, they punch it a few times.
A bit.
Yeah, and then they retreat.
Take it home.
Understandable, understandable.
That's how averages work. No, and that's...
Stats don't lie.
You can see with a lot of early versus late game teams, if you look at Geo Esports and LATAM, for instance, they get a ton of Abyssals. Because Abyssal actually costs you a lot of farm across the map, but it does give you a chunk of early game damage.
Oxy's gonna be able to get ganked here because he overextended. There's the snipe coming through. Lilo with the perfect play on the bottom side of the map. There's the Ethereal Pulse coming through from Ruiz as well. A little bit of a zoning tool coming through because Team Queso, they want to be looking for the tower, but they're gonna concede this objective.
But look at how much damage Vex is doing. And those are kind of two sides of the same coin. Oxy's not nearly as effective as he'd like to be because he's been pushed out of farm because they put Poseidon down bottom.
Interesting choice there going into 3 people of Team Queso. He's gonna pop the Tides of Life, which means that is gonna be down for the count, and they have to concede a tower now.
This was the downside of Nova's strategy. Oxy and Poseidon were sharing farm down bottom. This means they're actually a little bit under-farmed, not nearly as much gold as you'd hope at this point in the game, but you do have the advantage of Vex getting very, very fed. If he could start contributing to fights, maybe.
I just remembered the good meme that Jump did pre-show. But first time I noticed. Funny. But we do have Queso now. They're going to be looking for the top tier 1 tower. They're being incredibly surgical about all of this. They are looking to clean up the tier 1 towers and then progress further on the map.
Yeah, Team Queso have actually played this incredibly well. They've responded to the strategy of power farming Vex by just ignoring him, not going where he is, and instead focusing on taking out towers. This is looking very much like a solid early game performance.
There's the Agnes Grass coming through onto the Grizzly Q. There's the Thorough Pulse being popped as well, but nobody's going down right now onto the members of Team Nova. But I was mistaken there because bottom lane is going to get taken out.
Yeah, Oxy falls again. That's not a good look for him.
It's definitely not a good look as Team Queso. They're looking for more here on the top side of the map. They still have a couple of members rotated there.
Vex is just purely focused on farming. I don't think I've seen him actually land a tactical fire onto an opponent since the very early game.
Yeah, indeed he hasn't, but Team Queso right now, they're looking to pressure all of the objectives. They get the enraged Abyssal Dragon. That is going to be a crucial thing to have when you're looking for the Dark Slayer in the upcoming minutes.
Vex was looking for a little bit extra tower chip, but he doesn't go for it. Team Queso have dominated this early game. The only Nova Esports member who's not badly behind, again, is Vex. Vex actually has a slight lead still over many of his opponents, but we've yet to see that matter.
Lilu, he's way far up front, spots the Nova rotation coming through onto the top, but the tower does go down, which means another gold into the hands of Team Queso.
Omni Arms was the last major item finished over on Vex's build. And I have to say, if this is what they're gambling all their chips on, I would have preferred something a little bit more innovative. This is a very standard Violet build.
Indeed, it is, as we do have a Thorough Pulse almost connecting onto Vex there. So Vex has to go back, heal himself up before they can take this fight.
And look at the impact this has had on Poseidon. Poseidon's not contributing to these fights. He can't do any damage.
At this point, with as much poke as Team Queso has, I would have liked to see Violet build one of the older builds with the Frost Cape coming through.
This is the mid game where Nova should be at their peak. Remember, if we talked about it, and they don't have enough damage to take these fights.
There's Angelic Splendor being popped as well. Coco's going to be on the chase. Team Queso, though, they're going to get away from this situation. They are going to not destroy the tower. It's a minuscule amount of HP. A gust of wind will topple that tower in any second now in the upcoming minutes.
Lilu can walk up to it and sneeze a little bit. Extra hard and it's gone. Team Queso, though, are finally starting to get punished. Like I said, we are entering the mid-game where theoretically they should be at their strongest, and that has been the first two major kills over to Nova.
Hello there, says Team Queso on the middle of the map. They lose a member that is Javix on the top, but they were looking for the middle lane tower. That's an objective for one kill. I think Team Queso is happy with the trade.
Yeah, if you want to put, this is really good macro play. If you want to put all your bags on catching out Javix up top, you'll be entirely happy with that. That's actually somewhat the role of the Roxy. Split push well, draw focus. They can take it map otherwise.
Oh, Team Queso now, they're going to be three members there on the middle of the map. They're going to get caught out there as Oxy gets the kill and finally gets himself on the way. As Memorized is going to be down for the count, and that means Dark Slayer is up for grabs for Nova members.
Nova feel like they've gotten far enough behind. Their only hope back into this game is the Dark Slayer, but they have the kills to get it.
There's their Thorough Pulse coming through. Lilo's going to be the sidelines as well. Ibuchichi goes in. There's the backline decimation. Vex is down for the count. Poseidon, he's going to have to run. The critical from Lilu, though. It's big. Grizzly Q goes down low as well. Has to get away from this one. Zephyra on the retreat. Javix now is giving chase. Does he have the movement speed? There's the fire coming through, but Javix does not have the speed to catch up to the members of Nova.
That's a mixed bag for Team Queso. They don't stop the Dark Slayer from going over to Nova, but they do make sure that it's not going to have too much of an impact. Those kills they pick up mean Nova are going to have to play back. It's very likely Team Queso managed to get a tower off this.
Look at Lilu's damage, though. He's dealing so much damage to the backline carriers, and even Coco, who's supposed to be the frontline tank.
We've hit the late game. That means that, yeah, he's doing a ton. This is late game Elsuet, almost full build.
Well, Ruiz is going to get caught out here, has to run away from this one. There's Gohli going down. Lilu's going to be low HP as well. That's an opportunity for Nova to get themselves back into this game. Bit by bit, they're taking and chunking Team Queso down. Memorized is going to be stunned up by Grizzly Q, but not much more coming from that.
Lilu's just hovering back, looking for wave clear here. Nova Esports have the fights they want.
Well, Javix is going to get the Agnes grasp onto Oxy there, but not much more going to happen, and it's going to have to run away. Memorize is low, which means Team Queso are going to have to retreat and concede the tower coming through. Poseidon takes a little bit too much tower damage in the middle.
The Miramasa was, I guess, what they were waiting for on Vex. They believe that gives them everything they need to take these towers. The empowered minions also giving them a leg up for the duration of the Drake. And Nova Esports have very quickly answered back, sweeping across the map with this extra buff. They've got so many towers, the game's dead even.
Team Queso, they need to group up for now. They've gotten caught out in every one of these fights right now. They need to come together as a 5-man team, and they need to start performing as a unit rather than solo queue players.
On average, Nova Esports gets 7.7 towers a game. The vast majority of towers on the map. This is why they go very methodically. They make sure to get even towers. They don't necessarily need to push through to the enemy base. The reason for that gives you extra gold. It snowballs. Every tower you kill not only gives you the gold reward for killing the tower, it also means that you have access to the enemy jungle.
Well, we are closing onto the 16-minute mark, which is usually what Team Queso's games take. So, keeping that in mind, Team Queso is closing into a point where they could close out the game.
Yes, we've exceeded the Nova Esports game time average. That doesn't mean Nova are lost, but I did predict that Team Queso would do better if this game went hyper late. It has now. That's why. Look at the Elsu damage.
Yeah, Elsu has a phenomenal amount of damage right now. Lilu's definitely having a good time on it. Elsu Memorize gets caught out there as a net. Doxy's gonna move forward as Coco is gonna be in the forefront fighting up against Javix. Javix is taking a lot of damage. He's gonna go low. There's Agnes Gaps coming through, and it's onto Coco. Coco has to get away from this situation, uses the Angelic Splendor coming through, but it's a little leap into the middle of the pack for his team. Ibuchichi has been on the back line as Nova. They're trying to do all they can. There's the cuff coming through. Oh, Lilu deals a lot of damage onto the members of Nova as well, as they're gonna be under retreat. Another snipe lands. That's a beautiful play as Lilu puts down those bullets left, right, and center. Nova, they're waiting for the chance to re-engage into this fight.
Memorized has been perfect this entire fight long. The reason that lasts so long is because of all the sick win cups he's landing, and now Team Queso have turned the tables.
Yeah, they have gotten one of these kills. Oxy has gone down, which means we don't have the Ryoma anymore. That's a powerful front line to lose in this fight as Javix is going forward. Memorized is on 3 bars of HP, so Team Queso, they need to hold on for just a second longer. They need to heal up, because if they're gonna take fight with low HP, it can spell disaster for them.
Yeah, Nova needs to play this very carefully. Whoever gets this Abyssal that both teams are posturing around will likely crack the first high ground, because it will guarantee them a team fight. And between Violet, mid lane,
we do have a little bit of a clash happening in the middle. Javix gets caught out once again. That's gonna be a disaster coming through for Team Queso. As I've said so many times throughout this game, they cannot lose their members like that, and him going down means that Team Queso, they're gonna have to wait around. Actually, I take that back. Lilo's snipes can save them. Oh, what a snipe coming through! Grizzly gets taken out by a wild bullet from the opposing side of the river. What a play!
Lilu stepping up again. He's reached his late game form, and just as I predicted, this enraged Abyssal Dragon would guarantee who cracked the high ground. It goes over to Team Queso.
Yeah, Team Queso now are setting themselves up for what could potentially be the final push of the game. I like, though, that Elsu has only gone down once. He hasn't lost his life, and he's dealing so phenomenal amounts of damage.
Both teams were gambling on one player, Lilu and Vex. Both teams dedicated a lot of resources to making sure their key player succeeded. Vex is actually 2-1-0, Lilu 3-1-3. Slightly better performances for Lilu in the numbers, but I'd say beyond the numbers, he's also been contributing much more to team fights.
Yeah, that has been the case. I would like to say Lilu, though, he's been perfect in positioning. Vex has gotten caught out in these fights by Lilu's snipes, by that Zephyr's jumping onto the backline as well. So Vex has been really not performing all too well.
And the player stepping in to fill that void as Vex struggles after being given all of their gold is Poseidon. The reason Poseidon's not suffering for farm as much as Oxy is because he was drifted down to that bottom lane to steal away Oxy's farm. The Dragon lane has a little bit of extra gold in it this patch because of the extra siege minions, so he was able to somewhat keep pace. Though he was a little bit underfarmed coming into mid-game, he's quickly made up for it.
He has indeed, and Nova now, they're going to be looking to take Team Queso members down. Team Queso, once again, are so split. They need to group up if they want to have a chance of taking those fights. Tides of Life has been popped. Zephys is going on to Zephyra. Ibuchichi gets the kill on the backline. Vex is singled out. If Team Queso want to go for it now, Lilu, he spots Vex out. They know he's split, so they're going to take him down. Vex is going to come back alive. The snipes there, Lilu with the box shot from really close range. Nova now, they're under retreat. They're being singled out. Fight after fight, they're split up and taken down. Oxy is fighting up against two. The stuns there, but Memorized should have the all damage in the world with the help of Javix coming through. Nova, they crumble once again.
That might be a lot more than once again. That should be a high ground down. Poseidon and Coco must defend, and they do not have a lot of wave clear.
Yeah, the problem is Lilu is up as well, so that means that tower's gonna take so much damage from those auto attacks. We see thousands of damage coming through from Lilu in these auto attacks, 1,000 per hit onto that tower. Will mean tower's gonna go down quick.
Good focus from Poseidon though. He lets Coco take the damage, the brunt of the team, and he clears wave in the meantime. Team Queso realize they're not getting past that, but they do have a moment before respawns come through. So they want to redirect their focus, get the Dark Slayer, and rely on that to guarantee their team fight victory.
Yeah, there's a heads-up play coming through from Team Queso. They're going to take the Spirit Sentinel as well. Even though they're 6 slotted right now, they're doing a good job at denying Team Nova the farm that they want to have.
Both these teams, on average, get about 50% more Dark Slayers than Abyssal Dragons. It's much more of a priority for both these teams because they want to be able to clear out towers in the late game.
Well, Coco does spot a couple of members of Team Queso. Memorize puts down the ultimate. Lilo has to back away from this one. Oxy tries to jump over the wall, doesn't get there as Nova. They're going to be split up right now. Now finally, there's the cuffs coming through. Memorize has to get away. Lilu's low as well, but the auto attacks are there. He has to run though because there's 3 members converging onto him. Oxy, he's going to go down as well. There's Coco with the damage coming through. Oxy comes back alive. Ibuchichi is still alive. Vex goes down finally as Ibuchichi is fighting up against Coco on that top side of the map. That's a Zephys versus Zenial battle, and that's the one that Zenial won't win. There's 4 members down from the side of Nova. Team Queso, they have everything they need to close this game right here and right now.
Memorized went insane that fight. His wing cuff saved the team. The Agnes graft coming through from the Roxy of Yarvax, taking the Sephira out of Tides of Life and getting Team Queso their win.
Wow, what a game coming through as the base does go down. That means Team Queso have closed the first game in the best of 2 series and in the head-to-head matchup. Team Queso last time around wasn't so successful in taking down Nova. Now they're 1 game up in the series.